Okay, welcome Ariyanâ to the Biodigital Convergence Transhumanist Report. It's great you have me back for a fourth session. It's a special edition. A really, really difficult time for the people in Iran, the Aryans. Man, my heart breaks. My heart's really broken. I've been following you really closely. I know you're in contact with a lot of people that are actually inside the country. And wow, has this ever, I would have never even begin to have known the things that I know unless it was for the insight and the posts and just a little bit of the history of Iran that you've shared with the world and with myself, right, to really help us understand what we can do and how we can encourage our leaders to educate themselves and how they can take action to change what's going on in the country. So again, yeah, welcome back to the show. Um, yeah, I mean, basically, Ariyanâ, she's an educator. She's got a very intelligent mind. The way she understands just the world is an inspiration to me and others, where she's also an educator on the ancient Iranian history, like, talking a little bit about distinguishing between Persia and the Aryans and the different provinces and really what it means to be Iranian today. So that is kind of how I understand her. Like she's very precise and it's not just as simple as what we've been taught in the West, right? And I realize how little I really actually know about Iran. But when you start talking to Iranians, it's incredible, actually. It's an incredible place. A lot of suffering right now, though. It's with the revolution that's going on right now. It's just it breaks my heart. When you hear about what the young people are doing and how the Islamic regime are treating them, and it's just absolutely mind blowing. So again, Ariyanâ, welcome to the show, and it's an honor to have you back and to weigh in on some of the topics we're going to talk about here. And tell us, like how did this all begin with these revolutions and what's going on with the war between, I'm going to say, the Aryans and Islam, essentially. What is going on?
First of all, thank you, Tom, for inviting me and for all your kindness as always.
Yeah,
It's very hard for me right now to go through all of this and to be able to even focus, but I thought maybe it's good for the people to know a little bit um from how we Iranians are going through this process, what is going on in Iran, because I see there are a lot of lies in the media, and lots of basically um, propaganda from the Islamic regime that is from the BBC and the CNN, and the lefties are literally repeating that. And it's very heartbreaking and actually criminal to see how they're lying. And it's causing human life. So, in that sense, I'm very grateful to you that we can speak about these topics. So, since late December, um, like a month ago, massive national-wide protests started erupting across all of Iran. It was very interesting to see how organic it was, and that's also the reason for people to know that it could never be organized like that. It first started over economic collapse and skyrocketing inflations, especially after the real crash quickly turned into a literally broad anti-regime demonstration calling for regime change, like really from the roots, not just the regime. Because if you say regime change, then you might say we still want an Islamic republic, but we don't want these leaders. But no,
I
people are
see.
shouting that they don't want Islam in their government at all anymore. And then you have like a few different generations, and the youngest generation, let's say from 8 to 40, are the generation who have educated themselves on Islam, but mostly have educated themselves on our history. I think also uh, due to AI and the fact checking we can now do, and that you have your own liberty to fact check history instead of like always being fed with a bunch of lies. People now know what kind of history they had, and then they compare that with what happened to Iran after the Arabs came in the seventh century with force, with rape, with plunder, with the sword, um, and then enforced their religion upon Iranians. And then since then, what happened in Iran till 1979, which was actually very sorry, because in 1979 there was uh, we had a dynasty, very very young, if you may, because we had Reza Shah the first, who came after the Qajar period, and um, ever since him we started reviving, if you will. It's always called modernization, and I understand why that term is used, because that's what the era of modernization did for the entire world, not only for Iran. But I mean, like, a lot of people, a lot of historians like to call it like they wanted some sort of like moderate Islam, or that kind of rhetoric, which I find sorry, because um, it was way more than that. It's way more complex, because Iranians were never Muslims. They were Zoroastrians, or before that they were Mitraist, and Zoroastrianism is the first monotheistic religion, the first enduring, because to this day we have Zoroastrians, the first enduring ethical monotheism, where you don't have tribal monotheism, but you have ethical monotheism. And then you also don't have the whole concept of sin nature, and a savior who needs to save you from your own sins, but you do have a savior, and that savior comes to basically restore the world. But you are responsible for your own actions. So whatever you do, you have to pay the consequences for that in your own life, and also learn to be responsible, and to also have the liberty to be good, to enjoy life. So you have the liberty to align yourself with good or bad. It's not like they thought or they think that you were inherently sinful, and so you needed a figure like Jesus to save you from your own sins. So this is what people believed in Iran before Islam came. So when Islam for the first time suggested their religion, the Iranian kings laughed at them. They're like, "What are you talking about? Like, this is all brutality. This is female brutality. What is this? This is not even a religion." They, on the table, rejected it. And after that, they came in with the sword. And in this time, it's very complex to explain how such a huge empire fell by such a little people from the Hijaz back then, riders and thieves and caravan thieves, how they could even, you know, compete with the Aryan Empire, as the Persian Empire. But I don't want to go too deep into the history, because otherwise it's going to be like a historical thing, and I think that it's too complex for that. But I mean, like, um, ever since they came into Iran, we have been fighting them, because imagine Iranian women in those times, in the ancient times, had even more rights than the Roman females. They had the right um, to become whoever they wanted. They were in the academia. Even we already had universities in those times. They were judges. They could own and sell lands. They were equal under the law, and this is all because of the philosophy that we had. And then I imagine Islam coming in with their brutality against women. No one wanted that, especially women didn't want that. So we were always fighting these Arabs. And by the way, we call them Arabs. Arab is an exonym. So before us, the Assyrians would call these people in the Hijaz Arab, which means sand Bedouin. Um, and then after us, also the Romans called them Arabs. They never called themselves Arab before Islam. They had their own respected names, the Hijazis, or um, the Qurayshis, they had their own tribal names, and they had also other kingdoms who were not connected to them. And after Muhammad came, he slapped the exonym Arab onto them and said, "From now on, we are called the Muslims. We are called the Arabs. We An Arab means Muslim." He redefined it, and then to unify all these tribes together. And then that's where the story started with Islam. So it was from the very like 7th century on till now, the last 1400 years, we have been fighting them. We had so many fights with them. Like for 200 years, we fought them and then we tossed them out of our country. We regained our own like sovereignty. But Islam never really left until uh, let's say the Pahlavi dynasty started. So imagine Iran suffered a lot of Islam for the last 1400 years, and then let's say 200 years ago, we finally got like almost a little less than 200 years ago, we finally got a king who wanted better for us, who brought a lot of human rights for women, who was inspired by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, who I don't know if you know him, but he was the one who um, basically after the Ottoman Empire um, united all the Turks, if you will, and then he called it Turkey, and he uh, caused the end of the caliphate and wanted a republic for Turkey and modernized Turkey and brought women's rights. And he actually was a very good leader. He was inspired by Greek philosophers and he wanted women to have rights. He abolished a lot of these barbaric Islamic laws. And our king, Reza King the First, was inspired by him. So he did a lot of good for Iran, but he was a dictator. Yani he was not a democrat, if you will. So it was like people had to listen to him when he said that women should not wear any hijabs anymore in offices, or that women should be able to go to school. A lot of families would not accept that. They were like, "No, my daughter doesn't go out without a hijab." So he needed to enforce his power, if you will, to to bring equality, and that's the best kind of thing. Yeah, in my opinion. Um, and do you want to ask a question?
No, I mean, it's just most of us in the West here have no idea. It's like in the West, they're embracing Islam, at least a quote unquote moderate version, but I don't really believe in a moderate version of Islam. That's how it gets rooted in the West. That's how, in a sense, they're using taqiyya to get, once they become powerful and their numbers are strong, then all of a sudden you see
Yeah,
guys like Mohammed Hijab appear on the scene, right? Like with his Islamic thugs, parading around in the streets. I mean, I never ever would have imagined to see what we're seeing these days, even in the West. It's just truly astounding. And it's all because of the policies of our own leaders. And it's like you're starting to see the fruit of that. It's mind blowing. And then in Iran, it's the opposite. It's like you've got strong, brutal
yes.
Islamic rule. Yeah, like and the slaughter going on is just unbelievable, and the people don't want Islamic rule. Hmm.
No,
Yeah, like
no.
Iran is an example.
Because when you suffer Islam, especially as a woman, you
Mhm.
know what it is. But when you don't have to
Yeah,
suffer, you have the luxury to live under basically, I would
yeah.
say, Mazda biblical values, and then you have the liberty to say no. And as a woman, you can speak up. It's easy as a woman to sort of like patronize other cultures and say, "Oh no, we should be sweet to them as well." So right now in Afghanistan, I don't know if you read that, but slavery they enacted slavery laws again. Well, I don't see any of these lefties feminists crying about that sex slavery. And men think that feminism in and by itself is bad, but I say left Marxist or social or whatever you want to call it, feminism is rotten because it looks at everything as a sort of like victim, and also whatever the West is or whatever system that is capitalistic, they look down upon and they want to change, but they don't have a better system. I'm not saying that capitalism
Yeah.
is perfect, but it's the
Hmm.
best system we have, economic
Yeah.
system. And or I don't say that it's perfect here, but it's pretty darn perfect compared to someone who has to right now live under the Taliban, right? So they're just
Of
like,
course.
they're very delusional, but it costs lives. I mean, like, it's not just benign, if you will. Like,
Well,
it's yeah, but it's not a topic. But yeah, I fully get your frustration.
well, I mean, it's repressive religion. I mean, it actually holds civilization back, if you will, because it hasn't really modernized, and it's full
Islam.
of yeah, yeah,
But Islam cannot modernize. That's a
yeah.
delusion
That's the
people have.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's
elaborate.
in its
Yeah,
core, it's not to be modernized. And the people,
yeah.
okay, so one of, and let me just continue to, this is the mistake that our own Shah had, and let's see what happened to us because of this mistake. And then you can maybe
Hmm.
learn from what happened to you if you want to modernize something that you don't understand. So as I said, us Iranians, we speak Aryan, as you will, Persian, if you will, Persian. Okay, so first we called ourselves the Aryans, and then we had, and I've explained this to you a lot of times, but maybe your listeners don't know. First, we called ourselves the Aryans, or we were called Iran Shah, so basically the land of the Aryans. But then when we were colonized by the Greeks for a while, the Greeks called us Persis from any Persians from Persis, and that is one of our provinces. Is just one of our just like
Yeah.
Texas is one of
You said
American
that.
provinces.
Yeah.
Right? And so then they called their language Persian as well. So now it's stuck. Now everyone says Persian. And so I'm gonna just go with the Persian for, not making it too complex, but actually it's
Sure.
Aryan. But anyways. So we speak Persian and we don't speak Arabic, and Islam is written in Arabic, right? So it's just imagine having a language as a religion in a language that you don't understand. So you always need people from the inside who understand the language and can translate it to you, and then you have to trust them. Well,
Yeah.
these are trained imams, because in Shia Islam you have imamiyat instead of the caliphate. It's a different system, Shia versus Sunnah, and that's not really interesting. But I mean, like, all of it is one crap. But the point is that people did not really know what Islam was in Iran, and they had their own view. Like, they just thought being a good person, that's what Islam, mostly families and people who didn't uh, study Islam, they just thought being a Muslim means being a good person and respecting others, because that's the culture of the Iranians, and not doing jihad or not doing sex slavery and not doing all of these things. They never even knew that that was something that Muhammad did. That's how illiterate people were about Islam in Iran.
Hmm.
Anyways, so in the time of Reza Shah the First, he knew a lot about what Islam was about. So he stood against it. He ended pedophilia, all sorts of disgusting things that was going on. He brought all sorts of rights for women, and this is the father of Muhammad Reza Shah. He was really
Hmm.
bright in the sense of he wanted the best for women. But when his son Muhammad Reza Shah came, because he already went through the luxury of living under his father's reign and seeing Islam reduced to some clergy in some mosque of these poor people who didn't even have money to eat or something, but then they blessed you with a blessing if you went into the mosque, and then that's what Islam was for him. He didn't understand what Islam was. So what he did was he invested a lot of his time to modernize Iran, industrialize Iran, bring university, and he teach people second languages. So a lot of Iranians could speak French in those
Hmm.
times. He had very good relations with America. He wanted uh, to to basically revive our culture in some senses. He was, he brought a constitution, a parliament, a secular court, women with legal rights, universities tied to Europe, also not just like the language, but they were tied, and a state moving forward, not backward. But then after that, we had in those times, he had the naivete to think that, well, Islam, these people are extremists, exactly the same sentence when this is like almost 100 years ago, but exactly the same thing that we are hearing in Europe all the time. Oh no, you know what? A real Islam is just about spirituality and about being good. And this was our king, right? About being good, and female rights and everything. And these clerical morons are just like extremists. So when
Mhm.
Khomeini came, and Khomeini was the later became the supreme leader, according to him,
The
self-appointed leader.
Ayatollah, right?
Yeah, Ayatollah literally means Aya means the verse of Allah. So basically, he becomes a Aya means a verse, just like we say a verse in the Bible. Aya Tola means like he's literally the verse of Allah. Just imagine calling yourself the
Hmm.
word of God.
Okay.
That has
It's good to know.
Yeah, and so he tried to assassinate the Shah, and then he was put in jail and he was tried, and actually for treason he needed to be hanged or whatever. But the Shah, he saved Khomeini because he wanted to look like a very like kind king who is pro
Wow.
democracy and everything.
Yeah.
The man who wanted to murder him, he saved him
Hmm.
at never knowing that it would be what the future would tell, right? And then he just sent him away to France. He thought, if I send him to France, those French people will look at his extremism and see that, well, this is just not a good idea, right? And then his followers would not have create a martyr or whatnot. If I kill him, his followers might come in uprising. He didn't want to kill anyone, so he was trying to be smart because in his head there was a good Islam, bad Islam, right?
Hmm.
And that was his mistake because he was not lettered in Islam. He was very
Yeah.
educated. He was a pilot. He studied in
Yeah, but
Switzerland, but
yeah,
he wasn't educated on philosophy
that's
or
right.
on religion or history. Those are very important things to be educated on when you
Yeah.
become a king of freaking Iran with like thousands and thousands of years of history. But anyways, he
Hmm.
wasn't. Um, but he was educated on economics and he was a brilliant man.
Yeah.
He was really a brilliant man. But again, that was these are the critiques I have for him. The lefties are have the critique that he was not democratic enough, and because in those times you didn't have free speech about everything. For there were some fractions of society who did not have free speech. For instance, uh, the Mujahideen have the MEC. These were the communist jihadis. These people did not have free speech. The communists themselves also didn't have free speech to have like a paper or something from them, or like media for themselves. um, so the communists and the jihadis basically did not have free speech. And well, right now we have a system in the West that you have free speech to say whatever you want to say or
Hmm.
promote whenever you want to. Also, like Nazism, like ideologies like Islam, that there shouldn't be free speech for that, anyways. So he was smart in doing that, but he wasn't so smart in not being hard enough against Islam because what
Hmm.
he wanted was like gradually even more democracy and reducing the power of the king to even more constitutional monarch that we have like right now in the Netherlands or in England or in many other
Hmm.
countries in Europe. You have constitutional monarchy, but you also have secular democracy, and that was his plan for his son. This one that he's alive right now, Pahlavi, Reza Pahlavi. Um, but what happened was in those times we had the Cold War, and And after that, we had obviously, what happened with Hitler and his war with the world and his Holocaust against the Jews. So it was very um, challenging times, and because of what the Qajars did. The Qajars were before this king came, Reza Pahlavi's father came. We had the Qajars, and the Qajars were basically a bunch of jihadis. And in those times, they had the Treaty of Golistan. They already gave a lot away to Russia or the Soviets. But it wasn't Russia back then, but it was a lot of our land. So Armenia was Gorgistan. Armenia was given away. That's why you have a country right now called Armenia. That was all part of Iran back then. So they gave it all away, and then uh, in Iran, the Soviets were already very powerful. So what the Shah did, the Reza Shah the first did, is basically invoke or ask help from the Englishman or the Anglos, and that was also a mistake. But yeah, to sort of like level that power of the Soviets. But what happened is the Soviets, just like right now, the jihadis have so much control in our universities with their lobbying and with their curriculum
Mhm.
and how they are trying to, and they have. And look at the students, look at how they defend Islam and all what sort of nonsense
Mhm.
they say about the Jews. Back then, that's what the Soviets did in Iran. So this whole revolution thing that people think in 79 that was some sort of like a organic revolution never ever happened. So it was manipulated by the Soviets, and the sort of like the students were manipulated by the Soviets, to think that they want a republic instead of a constitutional monarchy. So that was basically um, their revolution. Yani, the Iranian revolution was about a bunch of lefties who were influenced by the Soviets, students at universities, usually not from a very rich, household, and so they were struggling, and an economy that was growing, a grassroots, like it was not like Iran was not fully there yet, but was growing. Um, and so they wanted a republic because they thought if they had a republic, they would have socialism. And if they had socialism, well, they would have free water, free this, free that, free electricity, and so on and so forth. And so what happened was, um, Carter and England helped, and also France helped foster Khomeini, the jihadi, and they wrote all sorts of articles about him. The lefties, the far lefties, professors, and everyone, they were writing all sorts of and whitewashing who he was, writing all sorts of articles, calling him some sort of a Gandhi figure or some sort of a cleric who wouldn't even rule, who would just give advice and would, lovey-dovey kind of kind-hearted cleric who would not be a evil imperial a monarch. But that was not who our Shah was at all. He was a nationalist and he loved Iran with all of his heart, but he had a different system. He wanted the system of basically modernism and reviving Iran's culture. His mistake was modernizing Islam, thinking that is something that is possible, which
Mhm.
was is just not possible to do. And so these jihadis hijacked our revolution. That was a constitutional, yani that was a revolution from a constitutional monarchy to a republic, and they hijacked that, and then all these Islamic thugs took over, started murdering people, started burning cinemas, so theaters, and doing all sorts of mayhem, and basically committing a coup on the constitutional monarchy that we had. And the West read that as, oh, okay, so they had an evil monarch who was living a luxurious life and was starving his people, which was definitely not the case, definitely not. And not that he didn't live a lavish lifestyle, but it was not even to be compared to the lavish lifestyle that the English lived, or other monarchs here in the West. So it's very hypocritical to paint them like that. And the Iranians loved them. And if it wasn't for the Soviets and the manipulations in the universities, it would have even become a revolution to begin with. It would be some internal quest for some changes, and that would gradually happen anyways. So this is how Khomeini came. And when Khomeini came, right after he got the power, he started murdering lots of these communists who helped him. These communists and these lefties were the first ones who were murdered by Khomeini. That's the interesting part. And then after that, um, basically he started speaking about jihad against the Jews, jihad against Israel, jihad against America, and so the whole curriculum changed. They shut the universities, and the whole curriculum changed into Islamic jihad, and everyone at school would hear death to America, death to Israel, and so on and so forth. And
Hmm.
then you had the last 47 years of their reign, their tyranny over our people, and our people never stopped wanting changes because it's not their culture. It's not the Iranian. We are not Arabs. We don't have the same culture as the Qazinians or as many other Arabs who actually want more jihad, um,
Yeah,
even more
because
than their
they
monarchs want.
like if you study the Quran, the Sirah, the Hadiths, it's a religion of conquest. They want to conquer the world. So every country is a part of that. And it's a religious ideology, like theocracy that's been established by force in Iran, and they're trying to maintain that control. That's what you're seeing. And when, you have a civilian population that's uprising similar to like what you see in the West, but this is Iran, right? And the majority of these civilians are not armed. And then, of course, when the Ayatollahs,
None of us are armed. It's not major. None of us are armed.
well,
Like that's why it's so important that you have the
mhm,
right to have arms, that you
absolutely.
understand
Well,
how
because you
lucky,
can, yeah.
privileged you are.
Well, I mean, in Canada here, they're working on that, right? But I've actually seen some of the law enforcement officers that are actually standing up against the liberal government saying, no, we're not going to do this. Because when governments try to
Yes.
disarm their own citizens, like eventually you can take a look at Iran. Iran is a prime example. Like now, this is with Islamic rule, what happens when you have civil unrest? Because to the Ayatollah, if he views himself as the word of God or the word of Allah over
Yes.
the region,
Yeah.
then this is Islam. This is Islam in full power. This is what you get. And it's
Exactly.
like the West needs to wake
And it
up.
happens through and it happens through the lefties and to the socialists.
Yeah, like I mean, everyone has a I'm going to call it a constitutional ideology that they want to see bring into power, right? The leftists, if you want, we want to call them that, have their own idea of what that should be. And they'll be getting rid of people like me. I mean, Islam has their own ideology, that they want to see imparted into the entire world. Like there's different groups. I see it as three main powers in the world. I see it as I'm going to call it the Western power. That's kind of changing now because they really are not firm on their constitutions. So you're seeing a collapse. And you've got communism and you've got, I'm going to call it Islamism. I see it as three major powers that are basically manipulating each other, but really each and every one entity wants to be in dominion over the way the planet's governed. That's how I see it. I mean, it makes sense what's going on in Iran in a horrible way because I understand Islam and it's just they're not going to just lay
Yeah, but
down.
you have the responsibility to give your citizens equality and security and human
It,
rights. You can't just say,
I
okay,
agree.
we have to respect and we have to respect Islam, because if I say, let's respect Nazism because I'm so democratic, let the Nazis have a party and let people vote for them. Well, I'm endangering other people, and also I'm infringing upon the rights of the Jews. I don't have such a right, so I don't see that as a right. I don't see I see
But
that as cruelty.
It all depends how you want to govern your empire. Just say like you have your own kingdom and I have my own.
Yeah,
It
but it's not
what
about what I want. If I take the right away from, let's say, your family
Mhm.
members, your wife or
Yeah.
your children, it's not about what I want. It's about you need to have a system of justice for everyone. So if a system like Islam comes and says, well, I don't believe
Hmm.
that women men are equal, and I believe that we should run and govern if we are in a majority, and women should not be able to go out without, let's say, hijab, or
Hmm.
women are deficient in their brain. Women should not talk over men. Men could have four women if they wanted to. We could have slavery,
Yeah,
just like what the Taliban says. The Democrats cannot possibly look at that and say, okay, well, I'm just giving you the right to think what you think, because that right will be established into codes, legal codes, and then people have to suffer it.
that's right. That's how it works. I mean, and I mean, I'm in agreement with you, but you have to define what your Constitution of Rights is. See, what that is to Islam is not what that is to you, and it's not what it is to me. And so, therefore, this is why war breaks out ultimately, and this is why, you know, world leaders are trying to like figure out how can we get along. But at the end of the day, I don't think you can ever get along with like the Ayatollahs and the Islamic regime in Iran because
Thank you for
they're
not saying Iranian regime.
yeah. I know my words aren't necessarily in complete alignment with how you understand things, but I'm working on that. And
Oh, that's
but yeah, like I just look at it like at the end of the day, when you're building like to me an empire, the way I see it, and kingdoms rise and they fall, right, for different reasons. But I do believe that if you do create a constitution which upholds justice, you know, the rule of law, rights, but you these things have to be defined. Like where are the limits and parameters of morality? This is one issue. This is a huge issue. You see in the West, right, where morality, traditional morality, okay, has been completely disintegrated into nothing. Essentially. It's not every household, but I mean, when you look now, Islam sees this too, right? They see what the West is becoming, and they stand in opposition to that, of course, and they don't want to see that happen in their territories of control, right? So this is part of it. Who gets to define morality? See, this is being fought over in the West right now. And biblical morality has been thrown out the door by a lot of people, not everyone. And you know, this is what happens. Like this like
well,
it's like the Rome
it's very simple. It's not about who, it's about how. If you have a system of inclusivity for all people's rights, so women, and so you have gender equality, and all peoples who have different ideas, then you have a plausible system. So it doesn't
and
really matter.
you have to legally define that.
Yeah.
That's what I encourage you.
Eh,
Like you have to write it out and everything has to be thought of because you have to set the boundaries. Where are the boundaries to that? See,
Yes.
Islam, well,
And
I
what
mean,
and define what religion even is. Like, and do you have the
sure,
right to,
sure.
have it in your religion that you want to expand or not? Like, all these ideologies need to be
Hmm.
defined. And but
Yeah,
so we didn't do that in Iran, and that was the cause of our for the last 47, almost 48 years. We have been suffering Islam. We have been
yeah,
suffering because the system of governance is just like communism, because it's a
yeah,
bunch of people on top who have full control over everything, over education,
yeah,
over economy, everything, and they literally are torturing our people. And right now they are demociding our people, or genociding upon our people. And it's very, very sad to see, very tragic. Sad is not the word. I don't even have words to express
I
what
know.
we are going through. So this demonstration quickly turned into a protest, and after that to a revolution, in which people were chanting very interesting things. First of all, they were saying, we are Aryans, we don't praise Arabs. With that, they mean to say, our uh, prophet is not an Arab, because they understand their problem is in Islam.
Yeah.
So this is a This is not just a economical revolution
Hmm.
or a regime change, a revolution. This is a cultural, civilizational revival of Iranians who want their own fate, who want their own philosophy, who want a
Yeah.
constitution based on their freaking philosophy. They don't want to accept Islam anymore because Islam is harming them, and they know exactly what Islam is after 1400 years of having to endure this Arab uh, philosophy, or if you may, dogma, better said
Well,
than philosophy.
it's religious dogma. Yeah,
Cult,
sure. That's what it is.
cult. I don't want to belittle philosophy and say it's a and so
Well, yeah.
and so now our people are chanting all these very interesting slogans that the West is not at
Hmm.
all echoing. So we are saying we are Aryans, we don't praise Islam, Arab, sorry. We are saying we want a regime change. We are saying and I'm saying what they are saying. They're saying they want the dictator to go. They don't want Islam at all, and they're burning Qurans, they're burning mosques, and not only because they hate Islam, also because the mosques are being used as centers of terror. They're shooting people, they're
Yeah.
indoctrinating people, just like they do in Israel. So these mosques are seen as a territory for Islam. So when it's war, it's permissible to, you know, to wage war. So you literally have a sniper coming out of a mosque, right? Which is
Yeah.
something unknown for a Buddhist or unknown for a Christian, but that is how they operate, and that is how they have been operating for the last 1400 years. Or they take hostages and they torture them in these uh, chambers of theirs in the name of mosques. So that's also the reason that they're strategically burning mosques. And they just want the West to stop sponsoring these bastards, to stop sponsoring these evil,
Yeah.
I don't know, cancer, I don't even know what to call it. And nothing that I say will be enough for the thing. Sadistic, evil people who are uh, who are not only murdering, but murdering people in the most sadistic ways. I mean, like they have brought in all their proxies from Iraq, Hashd Shabi, the Fatimiyun, they have brought in Hamas, they have brought in the Houthis, they've brought all sorts of Arabs to murder Iranians who don't even speak Persian, and they post under social media that the reason that it's so easy for them to murder us, yani these Arabs, is because they see us as muharib. They see us as basically waging war with Allah and being non-Muslims, because they say at least ISIS is Muslim, but you're not even Muslim because we are cursing Islam. So they see us as um, a, I don't know, because just like Nazism, you have the Übermensch and the Untermensch. They see us as subhumans that he can murder, and that's how we are
Well,
treated.
you're the
Like
kafir, right? You're the
yeah, but
kafirs.
the kuffar is basically people who are already not Muslims. But Muslims who
Yeah.
leave Islam and then fight Allah, that's the worst enemy of Islam, and that's who we
Yeah.
are to them. Even if,
Yeah.
even when we are unarmed, like I have I have seen sceneries in which these Arabs are murdering um teenagers, girls and boys who are
Yeah.
already on the ground. They're already dead, or they're bleeding, or maybe they're still breathing, but they're bleeding from their brains. They're on the ground. They were already unarmed to begin with. And then they shoot them with these shotguns in the brain, and then they film it, and then they say Allahu Akbar. It's just like, and that means Allah is greater, is bigger uh, than you. So this is a this is an Islamic war on us. And the West
Yeah.
is not all at all voicing
Well,
any of this.
what the West needs to understand that when Islam is in full power, you're going to see it's just like what happened in Syria too, and of course what's going on in Iran. This is Islam. It is Islam. This is not, yeah, like if they want to whitewash it and call it this is due to the hard economic times, I mean that is a factor in some of the unrest, I would say, in the nation. But you're 100% correct. Like I look at it as the root of it.
Corruption. It's because of their corruption that we are in this state. It's because of their hatred for Israel, because of their genocidal
Yeah.
ideas about Israel,
Well,
their
because
genocidal ideas, and their expansionist ideas about the rest of the world, that the rest of the
yeah.
world does not have any good relationships with them. And Israel is just existentially afraid of them and wants them out as well, obviously, in that we have
Hmm.
mutual interests right now in this time of of history. But the point is that the rest of the world also has a responsibility, because you cannot see a nation being massacred and stand by and do nothing. It would be the same thing. Internationally, you're not even allowed to do that, by the way. It's not just a goodness out of your heart, it's like
Hmm.
regional instability. It's also immoral. It's ethically to see a nation being slaughtered and don't do anything. And what is very hard for us is Trump said like a few weeks ago, he said to this regime, if you gun down basically any of your citizens as you always do, we are locked and loaded and we will protect them. And the people of Iran felt encouraged and felt emboldened to go and to fill the streets, to take over cities. We took over many of the cities.
Yeah.
We were doing everything without any guards. That is freaking amazing how they established that to begin with. But
Well,
then they brought all these proxies, and the West did not do anything. To this day, that you and I are talking, and it's today the 28th of January, they still have done nothing. They're still talking about negotiations maybe with them.
yeah, and I mean it is tragic because I do remember Trump specifically, and I'll include his True Social post. I think it was at the beginning of January. I was just taking a look at some of the things that he'd said just online here. Um, like specifically about, the protesters going to the streets, taking over their institutions, right? And I mean that clearly is going to incite and encourage the people that see that to go do these things because they have that hope that, America's got their back, right? I mean, that's clear. And to me, when you're in a position of authority with the power of the world per se, every word that you say matters deeply and counts. Like it's these are people's lives, right? Now, I mean, he said on numerous occasions, and I'm not sure, like where I'm not in those rooms, right? And everything has to be weighed out. Like we've talked about this, right? Like where, but you do need to be very careful, like as a president or a world leader, everything that you post, because it does have impact, right? And those words to me will be held to account, right? Um, yeah, I mean, even some of the things that you mentioned too, like about the killings, like I kind of want to go back to that a little bit because I just want you to say like some of the things that are being done. I've heard about the Muslim gang rapes. That's going on, and it's
Oh
is it
man,
is
the things that it's just, even when I think about it for 2 seconds, I don't even know
yeah,
how to express it. It's so much. I get so so first of all, they're murdering people who are unarmed. That in itself is a war
yeah,
crime, right? They're shooting people in their eyes and their brains. They're killing teenagers. They're killing
yeah,
children, 3 years old, because of what Trump said. Families with their entire families went out. Just imagine the atmosphere of courage and hope they had when the United States president, who has the most power in the world right now, says such a thing with such like
yeah,
conviction. You
yeah,
get like encouraged, right? And so you take your children who are 3 year old, like the
yeah,
whole entire family goes just on a walk. And what they did was peacefully say, we don't want you anymore. That's what they basically did. There was no riots, nothing was burning up. And that's when they started shooting people. And that's how it escalated. And
yeah,
then after they shoot people, they make the family members pay for the bullets that they use on their loved ones. Sometimes they use multiple bullets, and then they triple or try to pull that, and then they demand the families to pay for that. In this situation, that most of them not do don't even have the money to buy food anymore because of the crazy inflation, right? So now they
Yeah.
have to pay for the bullet that killed their child. Now, there's also a lot of other stuff going on, sex, gang raping boys, little girls, especially girls, and not giving the bodies of these women back. So if you also see the body bags, right now we are reached over 100,000 people being murdered by them. And more 200,000 people are captured and wounded, because we have Iran is huge. We have a population of 90 million people. Just
Yeah.
imagine millions of people already being outside in the open,
Yeah.
protesting, being together, not wanting to go home because they thought this is how we get our country back. And then all of a sudden, instead of help coming, Arab proxies, jihadi proxies came and started gunning them down. And if you want to gun down and you have
Yeah.
enough weapons, you can kill a lot
Well,
of people. And
yeah.
so
I mean,
also they are they're even raping the dead. They're taking their wombs, they're doing disgusting things with women, and they're not giving back the bodies. And also they have planned to keep a lot of these bodies for themselves. So when if Trump decides to hit them, to say you caused this, you killed these people. They are very disgusting. They are very disgusting.
yeah. I
Also,
mean,
I've heard that they have dug up graves and put like teenagers in these graves who are still alive because they don't have any place for them, or they want to torture them psychologically, and then they don't give them food or
it's
water for
yeah.
like it's very graphic, I know, but just so you know what is happening right now as you and I are speaking. People are in graves alive, and then they don't give them food or water, and after they are like, for a while, they're there, they bury them alive.
Yeah. I mean,
Teenagers.
I yeah, I've heard they've been pulling out one guy, I think he some clips are actually surfacing some of these jihadi demons posting videos of themselves saying they're pulling the fingernails out of women, like these guys are actually proud of what they've done. And see, to me, like as far as
Sadistic
I'm concerned,
assholes.
that's not even there's no words to describe like when these people are hunt down, like it's not going to be spoken. But see, once you've crossed certain lines, and I believe the Islamic regime has done that. And I mean, I got Trump's Truth Social post like on my phone here, but I'll leave it in the just a screenshot of it in our write-up. He said if Iran shots, I think he means shoots, and violently kills peaceful protesters, which is their custom, the United States of America will come to their rescue. We are locked and loaded and ready to go. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. I mean, we know that there's like a fleet of Navy ships right in the region. I mean, the pieces are being staged, but I think he wrote that just at the beginning of the month, and I know like people have wanted the United States to act, but of course
And then comes up and says, and I don't know, is this his poker face? I mean, like, it's not all Trump's fault,
I don't
because
know. Yeah,
because so all these Arab states started saying to Trump that, and they have like very like thick lobbyists,
yeah,
Witkoff being one of them, like literally being
yeah. We were gonna hit on that. Yeah,
the mouthpiece of these Arabists. So the Arabs from the Gulf, right? Uh, they all said that you cannot use our airspace except for the
right.
UAE. Saudi said that, Qatar said that from the beginning, and Qatar and the Islamic regime are in the Islamic Brotherhood. So in doing jihad against Israel and causing all this mayhem in the world, they are brothers. Only there, because
Yeah,
otherwise they
yeah,
murder each other because they're Shia and Sunni. Um, So that's, and we all know how much investments Trump has and his family has in Qatar and also Witkoff, like literally millions and millions of dollars personally. And then they have trillions of dollars right now invested in America. So it's just crazy to see how now America is being controlled by, and this
Mhm.
administration wanted to make America great again. And one of these, uh, because most of the votes were from the Christians, right, from the conservatives.
Mhm.
Trump said that he would fight Islamism, or he didn't even call it Islamism, he called it Islam. He would fight them. He would protect the Jews. He would protect the Christians and the conservatives. But this is none of that. None of that, because we are not protected by Qatar having so much influence and such a thick lobby. Like basically, Witkoff works for them, not for America. That's how I see it right now. And even
Well,
uh,
yeah, I included one of your posts. Actually, it was on the 26th, like your weigh in on Kushner, like Jared Kushner and Witkoff.
and
I thought it was,
Witkoff, yeah.
yeah, because, you know, like business is fine, but when it comes at the expense of the blood of the people, man, that's just outright evil, right? And
Yes.
people
But
need to
also
be,
unconstitutional. You cannot do that because you work
I
for America, not for the Arabs.
yeah, well, see, this is the problem with the West is that because of greed and like, your enemy is going to snake his way and by whatever means possible, right? This is in like the Islamic theology, right? Like by whatever means necessary, right? I mean, they
Yes.
do it over and over and over again. And like to me, I believe that the battle will be brought to the heart of the Islamic lands. They've been bringing it to everyone else, like you said, for 1400 years. But for me, it's going to change. And then their brutality, it's like it's going to be made known that it all comes from their place of religion, right? You talk about freedom of religion. Well, if your religion, you got to study the religion. You got to understand the religion. See, they've been coming to America.
We also banned Nazism. That was also religion.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like you have to set boundaries. Like this is not difficult to do.
When your rights, overrides my rights, then that's not a right you
Sure.
could have, should have. That's very basic.
Right, but
It's not
this again needs to be brought and ratified into law and how that's going to be. The problem, see, it's like a double-edged sword, right? You have to be very careful, but I mean, you can do whatever. Like to me, if you're a nation of laws and justice, yeah, you do need to identify where these boundaries are. And I mean, of course, you see the chaos. It's very sad what's going on because the leadership just isn't there anymore the way I believe that it used to be. And people need to put their skin in the fight again, if I can put it that way. You got to determine what that is for ourselves. But in the West, we're so in love with our materialism, and it's like our moral compass is just gone, and our will to act is disappearing. And it's a warning because when we enter this state of being as a nation, I'll tell you, like our enemies won't be very far behind. And before you know it, like everything that was built before will be lost because history repeats
yes,
itself.
of course, because they break down your human
Yeah,
values and rights
sure.
little by little. They strip
Yeah.
it away,
I
strip
mean,
it
it's
away.
happening, right? Yeah.
And uh, our our blood is not even dried up yet, and there's still, and it's over our blood, over our bodies. This is not a right. And also I find it to be interesting that when I, for instance, post about Witkoff for Trump and their
Yeah.
conflict of interest, that people sort of like react with, but we can't do anything about it, they have the power. But we live under democracy. We do have powers. We do have
We
the power
do.
to demonstrate. We have the power to speak up. We have the
Yeah.
power of press. We can write articles. We
Yeah.
can unite. Just
And we should
because
use it.
yes, because
Yeah.
that's what we don't have. And when you live under a theocracy, you know how important those rights are. So just sitting down
Yeah.
and saying, they have all the power. Right now, if you like, a huge crowd would go in front of the White House and they would just, speak up about Witkoff, then I promise you that will influence, their
Yeah.
decisions in
Well,
the future. They will be
even you,
afraid.
like even you writing about it, as long as you base, your statements on evidence and you can defend that, like
But
you're
was this
golden.
guy, this guy openly, when the journalist, I have showed you that video, right? Openly, when the journalist is asking him about the conflict of interest in his family business that was saved by Qatar, his hotels were bought up by Qatar. He was basically, and he had this smug grin. He was talking about, but I gave it away to my family, and I'm not in that family business anymore. Do you think we are so stupid or what? You gave it to your sons. Now your sons are, doing business with Qatar. This is not like, this cannot be. You cannot be this close to the Qataris and do their bidding all the time and be their, a
Yeah.
microphone all the time instead of like shutting down the Islamic regime. All this time that
Yeah.
that Trump wanted to attack and finish the Islamic regime, Witkoff is doing their pleading.
What about
And
Kushner?
uh, uh, also, but Witkoff more because he has more power in as a position, but also Jared, yes. But the thing is that, and there are other people as well. By the way, I haven't mentioned them more, but I can do more articles on them. But I mean, like, the point is, right now, this is not even good for America. This is not in America's
No.
interest either. This is just in the interest of these families. Because when you allow the Islamic regime to stay, they will go on with their terrorism. So you have to pay your tax to fight that all the time, and it will not stop. And also, they have the power to influence your students in your universities with their sponsorship. So
Yeah.
they're just defeating you from within and without.
I
And
don't
also,
think
they're
I don't think the
murdering.
West understands like who our enemies actually really are. Like some people do, but like you look at some of like I'll use Canada for example. Like we have some of the weakest leaders in the entire world. And to me, it's a sign of judgment in my view, because you reap what you sow, right? This is what the people want. Not me, but I mean, and there's many others that don't want it either, but
People
you
trust these people. These people trust these because,
yeah.
for instance, if you want to talk about liberals or Democrats and Republicans, these people came into office with different promises. Trump did
Hmm.
not come in as a globalist. He did not come as
No.
a
No, he didn't,
Democrat.
yeah.
He came as a defender of the West. He wanted to
Yeah.
defeat Islam and jihad. He kept saying they don't like us, they hate us, and migration, this and this and that. But now he is talking about respecting Saudi's king, sorry, prince, or respecting Qatar because he's a strong man. He allowed Al-Jilani to, an ISIS member who murdered many people,
That was a
slaughtered
big
many people.
mistake. Yeah.
He brought him into the White House. They even played
Yeah.
football or basketball together. I mean, like, this is just unbelievable.
Yeah,
As
but
we
see,
speak,
yeah.
Al Julani is murdering Kurds in Syria. Before that, he was murdering Christians. Before that, he was murdering the Alawites, genociding them. And Trump looked away, and that's our fear now. What if he does the same thing with us in the end as well? He has done it till now. Till now, like 100,000, more than 100,000 people have been murdered. This is more than the whole 4 years of war that Ukraine had with Russia, or Russia had with Ukraine, summed up
Yeah,
in a few
I think
days, and then after that in the last weeks.
yeah, I think he's made mistakes when it comes to like that Al Jilani guy. Yeah, that guy should not, you should never even, do not have that man. That guy's got blood on his
Also,
hands.
he destabilized Lebanon when, and this is
Yeah.
what is so sad to me. Look, Israel literally, the idea, they went in, they sacrificed their lives, they got killed for this cause, for their
Hmm.
country to be safe. They won over these bastards. They could have got their hostages back by force. In the end, Trump came with his little Witkoff and he stole the whole show, and then he acted like he created this deal. But you don't you don't have a deal with your enemies when they're on their knees. They could have t taken back Gaza for themselves as Gaza was already theirs. They gave away Gaza for peace anyways, or they could have had Judea Samaria.
Yeah.
But then came Witkoff and Jared with a ridiculous peace plan. Peace? What peace? What peace are we
There's not going to
talking
be
about?
peace under that. It won't last. It's false.
Peace,
It's fake
peace
peace.
amongst the mafia bosses.
Yeah, it won't last. Because like I know what see Israel is smack dab in the heart of the Ummah. Okay, if you look at the actual Islamic world, the Islamic or the Muslim map of the world, Israel's right smack dab in the middle. And
Yeah.
like they can't stand having the Zionist entity, as they call it, in the heart of the Ummah. That's exactly what that is. That's how they view it. And that's exactly what it is. And it's like even though Israelis are good to Muslims, that will not be returned. Like not in terms of like the ones that are seeking their total annihilation, right? Which is they call it the axis of resistance. They call themselves, which is Iran is at the head of it, right? And so on and so forth. But I mean, yeah, like it's clear to me what this is all about. Like it's about Islam. That's it. Like for
Yeah.
them, it ultimately it's about the spread of Islam and their global conquest. This is what it's all about. And they're willing to do whatever it takes
And
to
their
advance.
judiciary installed, and their
Yeah.
laws installed, and their
Yeah.
governance installed.
And
Islam is all about governing people, ruling people, controlling people, paying tax of the people who are not Muslim,
yeah.
and demanding more tax from them. This is how
Yeah.
they survive. And then stealing the glory, stealing the sciences, doing nothing for it, just paying for it, and then claiming it, and then calling it a golden age. That's what Islam is all about. But right now, the people of Iran need help, really. They need help, they need action, they need people to stand up for them. The world needs to stand up for them, because this is a Holocaust that we are going through. It's not only a Holocaust, it's what Stalin did. He surpasses is because Hitler, his grotesque deeds were on the Jews, and the Jews were not the Germans, right? But what Khamenei is doing right now, even though he himself is an Iraqi, he's not an actual Iranian, he speaks Persian, but he is an Iraqi himself. But he is murdering Iranians within Iran. It's like literally what Stalin did. And
Yeah.
it's it's broadcasted, and we need to stop it. There is no negotiations with these bastards. But
No, I
right now
mean,
you have
yeah.
Russia, you have China, you have all the Arabs, all you have Pakistan, you have Erdogan, you have the UK even. The UK didn't say that they would, join a war against America, but all these other, like for instance, China literally said that they would wage war against America if America would, strike the Islamic regime. This is the
Well,
crazy world we live
yeah,
in.
and look at what it's turning into. It's like so the people are going to be slaughtered. If no one acts,
Spontaneous, yeah.
yeah. I mean, like I don't know. I mean, I can't. I'm not in their shoes, right? I'm not in Trump's shoes, but the reality, um, like everything has to be calculated and weighed out, right? I mean, between obviously between Israel and America, they could just having Iran as an ally would change the entire dynamic of how the world's
Exactly.
governed. Yeah,
Doing
I mean,
business
I
with
want to see
Iran,
that
not
happen.
being hated by Iran, not being
Hmm.
destabilized
Yeah.
by Iran, not being terrorized by Iran, not being manipulated in your universities by having the Iran that we are. And look, if you right now look in Gaza, even after Gaza was given back to these Palestinians, because they don't have a P in their language to even say Palestinian, but these Palestinians right now have voted, if they any they there was a poll, if you want if they wanted Hamas, how much they wanted Hamas after everything Hamas made them go through, and I think it was 78% still would have voted for Hamas now. Even this is
Oh yeah.
their,
Well, of course, yeah. Like, of course, because
so this
it's it. it's
we
Islam.
thought they learned because
It's
the whole is entire Gaza is destroyed, but no, they're still saying no. We would have voted for Hamas, a terrorist organization, versus Iranians are call they are literally saying نه غزه نه لبنان جانم فدای ایران, which means like not no to Hezbollah, no to Gaza, my life is for Iran, right? So they are being very vocal, and they have included Bibi and Trump. They made songs for Bibi, for Trump. They have written Trump's name and Bibi's name on walls. They've even changed the street names to Trump. They respect the West. They are the reason that the West has what, like, we came up with human rights. This is we came up with the first charter of human rights. We brought philosophy into this world. We brought human rights into this world. We brought the first monotheism to this world. We are not trying to be like the West. We are the foundation of the West. And now we
yeah.
are
I mean,
trapped. And now we are trapped in a hellhole of Arabism. We don't want it. It's not our culture. The Arabs can keep their fucking Islam in their Saudi. They
but
can
they
keep it
don't.
there.
They haven't. It's
I don't
all over
want
the
it. I
world.
don't want it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Neither
If
do I.
Iran is
But
free, if Iran is free, and then you have me here, I'm talking like it and like this to you. The people who are younger than me are even way more radically against Islam.
well, they should be. Like I mean, Islam is a huge problem to me the way I see it. It's if it were up to me, yeah, their institutions would not be allowed to be established in the land. Absolutely not. It's just this is how you have to look at it. Iran, and other countries are the final output. Okay. So in the West, they're just at the beginning input stage, right? It's just like processing like it's just like the way you can see the world now, it's obvious what's going on. So in the West, you have to start dealing with the fact that you've let this stuff take a foothold in your own backyard. That's the first thing they have to acknowledge. And don't you worry about people that are going to call you whatever they're going to call you Islamophobe. They're going to say everything in the book
We
to
are
you.
proud. We take that as an honor
Of
badge.
course, yeah.
If
I mean,
when they call us Islamophobes, we say, well, we
it's a
take
ridiculous
we,
term. It's yeah,
we take it with honor. We want to be the first ones who introduce it to the
yeah.
world to actually fear something that is crazy, scary. Like
Well, the thing is,
when your head is on the table, when your life is on the table, when your rights is on the table, you need to be afraid of something that is this grotesque. If I right now jump off the balcony without having any fear, then I am freaking delusional. I will break my freaking neck if I live high enough. You need to have healthy fear. Fear is good when it's
yeah. I
healthy, when
mean,
it's
I mean,
logical.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not afraid of them. I mean, I look at it like you have to take them on head on.
Yes, I'm afraid
Like,
of them. They're manipulative. They lie. They are bastards. They're
yeah.
literally cowards. They are in every
Well, there's
institution. They
no
have very
honor.
very lobbies in our governments. Yes, I'm afraid of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, because they're not fair players. They lie because
No,
you can
like
do
that's the thing.
that.
Yeah, they play the victim when they're weak, right? We know this. When they're weak, they're the victim, and they will abuse every Western constitutional right possible until they've got themselves established. Then all of a sudden the doctrine starts changing. Like I've got them figured. I know how it works with them. And then yeah, like you said, there's no honor in what they're
We
doing.
have to,
These
yes, we
these
have to
jihadis,
warn, we have to, and we have to think about the future. We have to think about
yeah,
children who are susceptible to this. Just
yeah.
imagine a teenager who doesn't know anything from anything, and then they feed them lies. For instance, they go to little girls and they say like, Islam. Actually, for instance, they always pick very vulnerable situations and people and individuals. They go to someone who maybe has some issues in their household or whatnot, or some neglect in the household, and they would give you love and community, and they would say, you know what, in Islam, we protect our women, we love our women, we will never. And
Hmm.
then you attract the teenager's heart. They do that. this whole lover boy effect. You need to be afraid of the of all this satanic bullshit. And when I say satanic, I mean like demonic, whatever it's called. I mean like evil, darkness.
Mhm.
You
I
need to be
mean,
afraid of what is bad.
yeah, there's no honor in what the IRGC are doing. When you go in to, your own population with it's like with high-powered weapons with unarmed people, that says everything you need to know about their governance. And to me, like this is going to change everything. Now, I don't know the timelines, right? Like I told you before, but it's going to what's
Yeah.
happened in Iran is going to change everything.
Look,
It's not going to
I
be,
know. Look, we will get our country back one way or the other because we have got our country back from the Mongols, the Arabs. We had so many invasions, the Greeks,
well,
right? But at what cost? How many people need to die?
I don't
And
know.
also you have to imagine after this, if I don't know, God forbid, Trump does not step in and he actually negotiates with these demons, then the next time will be very different because then you right now have the most
Mhm.
pro-American, pro-Western Iranians who want to have relations right away. They already have it in their heart with the West. They watch your movies. They want to have business deals with you. They love you. This is what who you're dealing with. But when you leave them like this, when you betray them like this, you have to be afraid of them as well. Because when they have their
Well,
country back, they won't be this nice anymore to you. Logically so.
I hope my hope is that Trump and Netanyahu will act. Now, how that comes into being, I don't know. I mean, it's just that's my hope for Iran. I mean, they
We
have
know.
obviously I'm 100% in support of that. And would I put my skin in the fight for these things? Yeah, 100%. I mean,
And we're not even asking really boots on the ground. We are asking about airstrikes.
well,
Just like because
it's
last time you remember when BB did all the what
yeah,
do you call
yeah,
it, the 12-day wars, the
yeah.
operation. Actually, it was meant to be 1 month war operation, and then they wanted to finish this regime, but Trump via Vitkov stopped it. So uh, I mean, like, what did I want to say? I just forgot what I wanted to say. Sorry.
Well, I mean, it's just that it seemed like that this was going to put a nail in the coffin, and again, he was given another lifeline,
Oh yeah,
right?
I wanted to say airstrike. I was say last time when they entered Iran, they you saw
Mhm.
how easily it was to take over the skies, and now they are even way weaker. And I don't understand why everyone is so afraid of them. They are weakened. You have
I
weakened their
don't
whole.
think it's that they're afraid of the IRGC. It's more like I
Oh, the
think
people, like, there are people who say Israel can't handle the amount of missiles that would come in. The
I
Iron
don't know
Dome
about
can.
that, but I think it's
I
more
hear
like
so many stories like that. I don't know which one is true or not, if it actually
I
comes
think
from.
it's more like to do with how's Russia going to respond? How are the big players going to respond? I think it's more to do with that.
Yeah, that
I don't think
also.
it's to do with like they could take out the Ayatollah and the regime just like that. I mean, but I think it's more like the response from some of, the
I don't know.
IRGC's allies that they're weighing out. That's what I think. Okay. So,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. I wish we knew more. And this is
Well,
also,
because they're
we
going to
don't
look at
know
it like
everything.
too.
We don't know. We don't have the intelligence. We don't know
It's not for
what's
me to know,
happening.
right?
Yeah, we don't know what is
Yeah.
happening behind the curtains. Like for sure, we
Yeah.
are guessing as like I know some things, but I don't know everything, obviously. So it's very insecure for all of us. But we hope the best. We hope, really hope, and not
Well,
only hope. We have to also be actively, you know, um for instance, you can do that with your own government, send them letters, send them messages, warn them for what
well,
is happening. So make
yeah.
them responsible because when they know they're responsible, these are the things that we can do. Pressure them to do something, to step in to the for the in.
Yeah.
Why else do we have the UN?
Well, it's that yeah. That's become a useless, like it's just more of a like an extension of Islamic governance to me
Like
as
the
well.
UN is always there to like be
Yeah.
obsessed with Israel. That's what the UN
Yeah,
is
that's
now.
right. Everything is about because see again, Israel is smack dab in the center of what they would call their ummah. That's why they want it gone. But then just know this, if Israel was gone, then the sights and targets will be on something else. Because with Islam, it never ends, it never stops. I mean, to me, it's a death cult. They believe they're doing the work of God, the work of Allah. They're willing to die. Like a lot of the jihadists, I'll give them credit in the sense that they're very sold out to their belief system, a lot more so
Yeah,
than
they're
people in
devoted.
the
Yeah.
West. Yeah, that's right. And that is the reason why they can achieve what they do, is because they put their skin in the fight. Okay, I'll put it that way. They are willing to die, a lot of them, for what they believe in. I'm not talking about the moderate ones. They're just kind of gonna, the moderate ones will teeter-totter. I call it like that with Christianity. As soon as they see the tide turning or the favor going in a certain way, then they change. That's what those people are like. Like if Islam gains the upper power, then of course they'll be all over that. And
Yeah,
but
just
if they start,
look at what they're doing with us.
yeah, and then when they,
And
yeah, of
and,
course
and,
they won't say
and,
it.
and
See,
that is
it's
when a population and this amount, this large amount, doesn't want you anymore. It's very also
yeah,
interesting. I mean, like just uh we don't have that anywhere in the world right now. We don't have that in Syria, we don't have that in Lebanon,
no,
we don't have that in Gaza, we don't have that
it
in Jordan. We don't have it anywhere where the population doesn't want Islam in this large amount and doesn't want
because yeah, the see now with the Aryans, like you need to have a well-armed, trained citizenship, right? If you had that, this would not happen. Like the IRGC would be overthrown like within weeks probably. And see that's why like governments like to keep their citizenry like basically like defenseless. Like I mean you're just sending lamb I call it the Aryan lambs to the slaughter. That's what this is. And it's like the world does need to act and the people that are on positions of power need to really look at what's going on here and the business deals need to be set aside. Like that's my word because this is blood, right? These are young people that have futures, that have dreams, right? And you're erasing them. And if it's because of your
to.
business deals, well, it won't be good for you. Like
No, that is one
I know
side of
what's
it.
gonna
That's
happen, but
one
I
side of it, but that's just one side of it. This is also very dangerous for you in the West. It's not just
sure.
for us because they are spreading all of this through the West because of the
I
money
know.
that the Islamic regime
Yeah.
has in Iran, because they are exploiting we have a very rich country from gold to gas to like
Yeah.
we feel like we have everything in our country, literally everything, right? So they are
Yeah.
using all of those resources for jihad and for mayhem. So
Yeah.
this will only
See,
and then they are now bruised in their ego, so they hate you 10 times more than before. It's
see,
not just our enemy,
yeah.
we have a
I know.
mutual.
I get it. And if it, if I could take action, I would be in terms of like what's going on over here. And then of course having a Qatari Air Force base set up in America. That is the about the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
You're not being
It
able to use it, then why did you have it in the first place? If you have
I
an
that should
air base
not
there,
happen.
that
Yeah.
yeah, but okay, just it happened. You have an airspace there, but you can't. You're literally slapped around by a little Qatari. Who's Qatar to tell you that you can't use your airspace if you're giving Qatar so much
I
protection?
don't know. I don't
We
know
give
what they're
Qatar
doing.
protection. It's just the other way. I don't understand the whole. It's almost like good cop, bad cop. I don't understand.
Yeah.
If Qatar is asking America for protection, Qatar is doesn't even have the capability to defend itself against the Islamic regime. Then how is Qatar to order you around to say you can't use our airspace? How?
Yeah. I mean it's absolute foolishness. It's like the Trojan horse, right? Like I did up a Trojan horse, like with the airplane. Like it the things are going to unfold for what they are. People make their choices, and I look at it as like I look at it as different layers of things that are happening, and you can kind of see how it's going to unfold, right? The if you choose to educate yourself, And I mean, what leaders choose to do, like sets the course, and you can kind of somewhat see what's going to happen down the line based on the decisions they make, because it's going to affect the next generations. Like it's just insanity. Like and see, all I have to say to the Western leaders too is like, you look at how they treat Christians in their home countries. How do they treat Christians in Iran? How do they treat Christians in Saudi Arabia? How do they treat Christians in Qatar?
It's Saudi
Right?
Arabia, and I talk about apartheid because Islam is inherently and systemically apartheid because their God only loves the Ummah, right? And hates not only loves the Ummah, but hates the infidels, hates the kuffar.
There you go.
So in Saudi, you all that apartheid that they're screaming about in the world, it's all in Islam inherently. So in
Yeah,
Saudi,
I know.
you have a billboard in their highway that
Yeah, I've
literally
seen
says
that.
only for Muslims. So
Yeah,
non-Muslims can't even enter Mecca. Not that we want to enter
exactly.
Mecca in that filthy place. No one will. But I mean, like the audacity to don't to then scream about inclusivity when it comes to them.
No, it shouldn't be allowed. See, this is the call to Western leaders. Like, I don't understand how they can be. Like, I know you don't see them. I see them as actually, okay, they're very selfish. They're either that, very foolish in terms of like they cannot, and they're not looking to the future generations and how this is going,
No,
because the decisions that Trump or whoever makes now is going to affect the generations of your children and grandchildren. And you should start
yeah,
thinking that way. See, Islam is not stupid in a way because they know what they're doing. And I feel like the West has no clue what it's doing. It's unbelievable. It just it's like here's this power, that we have more power, and yet we're so worried about like offending and like in an unhealthy way, right? See, there's a line that must be drawn. Like that this is the parameters and the boundaries of living in the Western civilization, right? Here are the lines, here are the limits. You're crossing over it, you're gone. Like it's as
yeah.
simple as that, right? These are the boundaries. Like you said, like if Islam has a quadrant or
But the West has like moral relativism. That's the issue of the
yeah,
West. When
that's
you
that's
have
see that's it doesn't work. See, that's what's going to destroy us. I'm telling you. This whole like we don't believe in God and all this stuff, like the fool, like we're so in love with our technology. It's there's an irony to it all. Technology is just to me all that is just like I posted on this is physical law, electrical law, magnetic law, so on and so forth understood. That's all it is. It's like there's like it's like in our wisdom we've become like in our pride we think we're so knowledgeable and so wise, right? It'll become our own downfall to me in the end. Like you can see what's going to happen. Like I don't know exactly how it'll happen step by step, but like we are losing because once you've lost, I'm going to say good, sound constitutional governance, it all starts falling apart, and you see the fruit of that. I call it the fruit, and in the rioting in your nations, the different groups that emerge, all this insanity, right? Like, I mean, look at the cross dressers and all this trans stuff. I mean, you would never see any of that, right? Like in some of these Islamic countries, right? There's no way in hell, And you wonder,
no, but
I'm just
you don't
saying, is
see
it
that you don't see it that publicly, but privately there is way more of that than you can
okay?
imagine. And
Yeah,
also Muhammad himself was like very male orientated. He did a lot of things with males, like he literally had sex with males. Like we have
would they
surahs
admit
where
that?
we have
Would like the
well it's like literally we have verses in the we have surahs like authoritative surahs like authentic surahs that literally say that he was uh mounted by um yeah, it's a little thingy to say, but I mean like by large by men with large things
yeah, I got you.
all night long, and it was really painful and this and that. And then when you like uh, the application of it, the conclusion, everything that you see from that passage, when you talk with them, you're just still denying it, obviously. But he has been found multiple times naked with men, putting his head on it, because it's also very logical. Look, if you if you say that women are deficient, if you look down upon women, only see them as a way to produce children, and they have to listen to you as slaves, you will never respect, you can never be in love with
No,
someone you don't respect, right? But they
no.
glorify men as a male religion, so it's way more logical that they respect each other way more than women, and their friendships is way more based on respect than anything else. So behind the curtains and in the deepest thing of Islam, there is lots of that actually going on. But publicly, no, yeah, publicly it's haram.
Okay. Well, this has been a great conversation. I think this has um, been inspiring, and I mean my call, right? And like let's my prayer, right? And my cry out to God, right, is and I know things are there's some incredible things going on in Iran too on the positive side. Sometimes I tend to focus on the dark side. That's kind of what I do. But yeah, I'm sure there's some incredible stories of hope and heroism coming out of Iran too. I just have a strong feeling of that's going on also. And so my heart and prayers are with the people as they try to take their country back, right, from the
Thank
Islamic
you. Thank
regime.
you so much.
And
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to also voice
of
their,
course, you're my friend.
because they only have us. They only have us in the West, and if we stop talking about them, then it's just total darkness.
Oh
Like
no.
I talked to a friend of mine this morning, like for a brief moment, and she said, because now sometimes they have internet for like a few seconds or sometimes
Yeah.
minutes, if they're lucky, and they said that, where is the help, where's the help, we're waiting, where's the help, we are locked in our houses, we are not safe, each time that we go out to even do groceries, we don't know if you come back home. Like that's the situation right now in Iran.
So where's the help? Yeah, indeed, right? So we'll leave it at that, and I hope to God that our leaders find the strength and courage to help the Aryan people. I
Yeah,
really do. I really pray for that.
so much, Tom, thank you so much.
Okay, well, thanks, Ariana, and people can find you on Telegram. I'll leave all the just some of the stuff we've talked about in the write-up and links and some pretty cool little AI clips that we've generated just to kind of illustrate our sentiments on what's going on. And thanks again, Ariane. Appreciate your time,
So
and we'll
thank you
talk
for those
again.
clips. Thank you for
Oh
those
yeah,
clips.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of a interesting way, of just expressing words, right? Like, I look at every piece of technology as having great potential for evil and great potential for good. That's how I view everything. It just depends who uses it. It depends on the soul quality of the individual, right?
Yeah, you're very creative. Thank you.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Thanks, though, Ariane. I appreciate it, right? So we'll talk to you later, and
Thank you.
Godspeed.